In the history of Major League Baseball, there are 56 players ever to earn at least 67 career WAR with an adjusted OPS of at least 127. 48 are in the Hall of Fame. Of the 8 not in the Hall, 3 are not eligible yet. They are Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, and Miguel Cabrera, and all 3 without a doubt will be first ballot electees. 4 more are Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, Rafael Palmeiro, and Manny Ramirez. 4 of the greatest hitters ever, but have not been inducted into Cooperstown due to their ties with PEDs. That 8th and final player on this exclusive list not in the Hall of Fame is Dwight Evans. There is perhaps no bigger snub for the Baseball Hall of Fame than Dwight Evans, one of the finest players ever to play the sport, but received such little support when his name appeared on the ballot. Who was this player, just how great was he, and why is he the biggest snub of all time? Dwight Evans was a right fielder who played in Major League Baseball for 20 seasons from 1972 to 1991. He spent all but one of those years as a member of the Boston Red Sox as he played his final season as a Baltimore Oriole. In his long career, Evans appeared in over 2,600 games and came to the plate well over 10,000 times. He slashed .272 with a .370 on base and .470 slugging for an .840 OPS and 127 adjusted OPS. He has over 2,400 career hits, nearly 400 home runs, which includes over 900 extra base hits, nearly 1,400 walks and RBIs, nearly 1,500 runs, over 4,000 total bases, and 67.2 WAR. He's a 3-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger Award winner, 8-time Gold Glove winner, and received MVP votes in 5 seasons, placing as high as 3rd. What I admire most about Evans' career is how consistent he was. For someone who played in parts of 20 seasons, he only posted a sub 100 adjusted OPS once. That season came during his rookie year in 1973, where he posted a mark of 93. A 2 decades long career, and he was solid from start to finish. While all the statistics and accolades I mentioned sound amazing, just how good was he compared to the competition during the era he played in, as well as all time? There were very few players to have even a similar amount of plate appearances to that of Dwight Evans, so we need to slightly lower the threshold. From 1972 to 1991, there were 51 players to have at least 7,500 plate appearances. Of those 51, Evans ranks 9th in OPS and adjusted OPS, 8th in WAR, 11th in hits, 7th in home runs, 4th in extra base hits, 3rd in runs, 7th in RBIs, and 6th in total bases. Certainly a top 10 hitter, both in advanced statistics and traditional counting stats as well. How did he fare against other right fielders though? Again, it's difficult to compare Evans' entire career since there were practically no other hitters, let alone right fielders, that play as much as him during his era, but what if we break up his career by decade? Among all right fielders in the 1970s, Evans ranks inside the top 10 in home runs, extra base hits, and WAR, and inside the top 15 in hits, runs, RBIs, and total bases. He was one of 14 right fielders with at least 3,000 plate appearances during that decade and ranks 10th in OPS and 11th in adjusted OPS. Among all right fielders in the 1980s, Evans ranks 1st in home runs, extra base hits, runs, and RBIs, 2nd in total bases and WAR, and 3rd in hits. Among 18 right fielders with at least 3,000 plate appearances, he's 1st in OPS and 3rd in adjusted OPS. Clearly, a top 10 right fielder of the 1970s, and arguably the best right fielder of the 1980s. A dominant force in the lineup for his entire career, how does he compare to other players all time? Among all players all time throughout MLB history, Evans is inside the top 85 in home runs, extra base hits, runs, RBIs, and total bases, while being inside the top 130 in hits and WAR. There has been 87 players to have at least 10,000 plate appearances in their career, and Evans is 38th in OPS and 44th in adjusted OPS. If we lower the threshold by 25% to 7,500 plate appearances, Evans ranks just outside the top 100 in OPS and adjusted OPS. If we look strictly at right fielders, Evans is inside the top 10 in home runs, extra base hits, and runs, inside the top 15 in WAR, RBIs, and total bases, and inside the top 20 in hits. Among 36 right fielders with at least 7,500 plate appearances, he's in the top 20 in OPS and adjusted OPS. Based on all that information, Dwight Evans is around the top 100 position player of all time, one of the better hitters with a similar workload, and most importantly, a top 15, arguably a top 10 right fielder ever to play in Major League Baseball. I believe it's also important to note that every single right fielder that has more WAR than Evans is in the Hall of Fame, as well as multiple others with slightly less WAR. Something I didn't even cover yet was Evans' performance in the postseason. On baseball's biggest stage, he has a respectable 758 OPS in 130 postseason plate appearances, but that includes an astounding 977 OPS in 59 World Series plate appearances. That OPS is the 19th highest for any player with as many or more plate appearances in the World Series. It's not far-fetched to say that Dwight Evans is one of the best performing players in World Series history. This all begs one major question. Why isn't Dwight Evans in the Hall of Fame? Unlike other notable players that are also not in, he wasn't a part of any grand controversy, like performance-enhancing drugs. I thought it might be due to him having a quote-unquote boring career where he was never the best hitter or excelled in any statistic. What I mean by that is, sometimes there will be amazing players who are often overlooked due to never having an MVP caliber season or leading the league in a notable statistic. A good example of this is former Tigers second baseman Lou Whitaker. Whitaker, who absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame, only received MVP votes once during his 19-year career, placing 8th, and only led the league in one statistic once, which was games played. A big reason why I believe Whitaker has not been elected yet is due to him having, again, a quote-unquote boring career. No unbelievable season that stands out, and never being the best in any particular category. However, this is not the case with Dwight Evans. First off, he's a home run champion, leading the league in homers in 1981. In other seasons, he also led the league in runs and total bases once, OPS twice, and walks 3 times. In addition to that, Evans also placed inside the top 4 for MVP voting twice, and top 10 4 times. If not for the strike in 1981, perhaps Evans would have won the MVP award that season, but that's beside the point. He has the notable league-leading statistics, as well as several MVP caliber seasons. Not to mention the combined 10 Gold Glove and Silver Slugger awards. So the accolades are present as well. So why hasn't Evans been inducted yet? Frankly, I'm not sure. On the first ballot he appeared on, he received 5.9% of the vote. 2 years later, he fell below 5% and was dropped off the ballot. Evans appeared on the Veterans Committee ballot in 2019, where he received 8 votes for election, falling short of the minimum 12 needed. If it wasn't already obvious, there are many other people that believe Dwight Evans should be in the Hall of Fame as well, including Bill James. In 2012, Bill James, the pioneer of sabermetrics, and a man that most watching are probably familiar with, wrote an open letter to the Hall of Fame voters, where he presented his case for Dwight Evans to be elected into the Hall of Fame. The letter in question is very long and very detailed, so I won't go into it, but it will be linked below. Evans himself, when speaking about the Veterans Committee in regards to other players, said, "I just don't understand the mentality of the voting. I don't get it." Including myself, I don't think most baseball fans understand the mentality either. If I may compare Evans to Tony Oliva, a right fielder who is in the Hall of Fame, Evans has Oliva beat in most hitting categories. The few statistics Oliva beats Evans in is such a minor difference, it's a stretch to say Oliva was a much better, or even better, player than Evans was. If you believe Tony Oliva deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, certainly you believe Evans should be in as well. Evans will be up for election by the Veterans Committee once again for the 2026 class, so we'll know the results of that ballot roughly 2 years after the date this video was uploaded. Hopefully by then, the small group of voters will come to their senses and make the right choice. Elect a player that should have been voted in some 20 years ago.